him, look, either I'm doing this program or you're doing it. If you are going to do that, you have to be prepared to be challenged. And predicting how people will vote in an election is very difficult.
Today on the Red Couch, my guest is none other than the eminent talk show host, Mr. Peter Wickham himself. If you only know how hard I've tried to get this interview with Peter Wickham, you have no idea. But thank you very much. I know that tomorrow you're traveling, and I'm delighted, Peter, that you could join us here. I'm going to ask you, first of all, though, I'm going to address the elephant in the room at some point in time, but how is the new arrangement going? You've now done, you've gone into the Pine, and has the audience, what has been the reaction to I turned on to hear you, but forgot that it was earlier, and so I didn't.
You missed the first hour.
Yes, yeah. So, what has been the reaction?
No, it's been great. I think the whole experience, quite frankly, has taught me that I'm not alone in Barbados. That I do have lots of support, and I do feel that certainly the first day on air has showed me that the people have followed me and they're supportive. And I think the whole general experience has been one in which people understood there's been some support. You're aware of this, Vic, but I actually started my talk show host life, if there was such a thing, back there in 1994, following the elections in 1994. And I did a stint under Claude Graham. So it is familiar territory. I have to admit that I've had some challenges there in the past as well, but we all in the media circle have had challenges over there. So I'm back home. And we see how things go, but I'm hoping it will be. Yeah.
Wish you well with it. But you have never been afraid to engage audiences and to take on whatever topic it is, whether they're coming to you personally, whether it's about the church, whether it is about politics. You've always been fearless in that regard. And I think that is what endears you to the audience.
Yeah. No, I mean, may say love me or hate me. The point is that I do hope that people will give me a chance. They will listen. And, you trust my judgment in terms of my willingness to engage something. But as you said, I've dealt with some fairly controversial topics and issues, both in my own personal capacity and broadly. I would like to think that I champion the cause of the underdog in many instances, and I'm not afraid to do that. But in all of this, I respect the role of the producer, and I've always maintained that in this environment, a producer has ultimate responsibility, to keep the station out of court, and for other reasons to ensure good taste prevails. And yeah, I've been cut on many occasions myself, and that's not an unusual thing. The issue at hand really was a different type of censorship, but certainly the idea of cutting is something that can happen from time to time. But yeah, no, I've been anxious to engage the issues that a lot of people don't want to touch, and I think it's also important in Barbados that we have difficult conversations, and whether it be about politics, whether it be about morality, whether it be about several things, we need to have some difficult conversations, and I'm anxious to have those. Yeah.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but from your perspective, I'm still trying to fully understand what the issue was in relation that brought the point of departure for you.
No, I mean, the issue is fairly simple. The station management, certainly the program manager clearly had given this lady leave to go down a particular road. She had the opportunity, unchallenged, on the Monday of that week to speak to David Ellis, and she went on unchallenged. She was brought back on when I was on the Thursday, and she attempted to speak in the same way. I did not want her to speak in that way, and I was essentially halted in my ability to engage her. So after I was prevented from engaging her, and then I asked for her to be taken off, and she was put back on, it was clear that I had lost control of the program at that point. So I basically said to the station manager, look, the program manager, who was in the room, I said to him, look, either I'm doing this program or you're doing it, but you can't be having me doing it and I'm being interrupted in my ability to engage. And I don't know whether they were more concerned about the manner in which I treated to the lady or more concerned about the manner in which I treated to the program manager, but one way or the other, the issue came to a head. I was essentially schooled on what I should and shouldn't have done. in a way that I thought was highly improper, because they wouldn't have done that to any of the other senior guys. And it came to a point where, I had to decide, they had to decide what was happening. Because my thing was, I saw nothing for which I should apologize. I patterned myself on other fearless moderators like David Ellis and Elombe Motley and so on, who've done far worse. And my thing was, I am not saying for 1 minute that the way that I treated to the lady was correct, but I also think that the way that they treated to me in reaction was improper. And that was basically where the whole thing broke down. I feel that the religious right in Barbados has been given leave by station management to behave in a certain way and to mislead people, and I'm uncomfortable with it. And if you are going to do that, you have to be prepared to be challenged. And it was clear that there was no opportunity for me to challenge that. I was basically being told, this lady is to run on and speak in the way that she wants. And it ultimately came to a head. So, it is done, and I have moved on, and let's see how things go. Yeah.
I shift a little bit and talk about your work with cadres. Peter, you over the years emerged as the preeminent authority when it comes to polling within the Caribbean. Like anybody else, you made one or two errors, but by and large, your overwhelming analyses have been accurate. Tell us a little bit about that work, because it's fascinating how you sample this stuff and how you get this level of accuracy that reflects what is going to happen in the general election.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk about that, and I want to thank you for certainly in your previous life being very supportive of my efforts in that regard. I think where polling is concerned, I was lucky. I had an organization which I currently lead fall into my lap, largely because Pat Emanuel, he built a reputation and then he died, sadly and tragically. But before he left, he essentially trained me and exposed me to all of the important things I needed to learn. And he'd also indicated to those around that it was his intention that I should carry the torch whenever he passed. So it was easy to fit into his shoes and to try to build on what he has established. Polling is kind of a peculiar science in that the science of public opinion is always challenging, because someone can tell you their view now and they can genuinely change tomorrow. And predicting how people will vote in an election is very difficult. One of the main things I always start with when we talk about this is the sample size, because people always say, we have 70,000 voters or 80,000 voters in Barbados, I don't remember the exact number. 60% of whom will vote, 40% of whom will never vote. And how do you know what the outcome is likely to be based on a sample of less than 1,000 of those people? And I always say, that when you approach a pot of soup, you don't really need to take half to know what it is. You just need to take a good ladle. And once it is properly mixed, you will determine what the general peculiarity is. The problem is that sometimes the soup will have a dumpling. And, is the dumpling made with regular flour? Is it made with whole wheat? There's some of the nuances that you don't pick up. And I think that would be what you're talking about when you talk about the few times that, you didn't get it right, because that is still a challenge. And one of the challenges that I have is predicting whether people will vote or not, and how that will fly. And Vic, is interesting that all of the elections in the Caribbean and also outside the Caribbean recently, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, the Brexit vote, anytime you have a situation where the pollsters are predicting one thing and something else happens, it's either because people who were supposed to have voted didn't vote, or persons who were not supposed to have voted. So the US recently, the issue was a higher than normal turnout among a particular population. Voter turnout is hard to predict because with the best of intentions, people decide what they will do on the day of the election, and you normally poll up to a week before. So you don't really know how people will vote. And I think that really, to me, is ground zero in terms of understanding political behavior, being able to know whether a person will vote or not. And I think, in fairness, it's not something that a person is going to be able to tell you, because it's sometimes just based on how you feel in the morning whether you decide to get up and vote.
Wow, this has been fascinating. I could easily chat with Peter for another hour or two, but he's got a plane to catch too as well. So I want to thank him, and I hope that he will come back on another occasion and have a follow-up. But I want to thank you, Peter, for a really an engaging session here this afternoon, and wide-ranging, and sharing your very erudite views, and you've never been one who's been afraid to speak, and I admire and respect that. And we certainly congratulate you on your journey, and look forward to following you in the new place.
Okay, yeah. All right. And thanks, Vic. Thanks for entertaining me on the red couch. It's very comfortable. And I hope that at some point in time we can return to the spot to see how it's going.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care.